Okay, boys and girls, now I'm going to read those stories about groundhogs. This is called 10 Grouchy Groundhogs. Count them on the page with me. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very good. All right, let's take a look at this story. 10 grouchy groundhogs crowded in their den. They squirmed and they stretched, and then, one grouchy groundhog announced with a shout, "This den is too small. Let me out, out, out." So 9 grubby groundhogs working in their den, they clawed and they dug, and then, one grubby groundhog announced with a shout, "I gotta have a bath, so let me out, out, out." 8 graceful groundhogs dancing in their den, they swooped and they swirled, and then, one graceful groundhog announced with the shout, "Dancing makes me dizzy, let me out, out, out." How many are left? 7. 7 gabby groundhogs chatting in their den. They gibbered and they jabbered, and then, one gabby groundhog announced with the shout, "Give me peace and quiet and let me out, out, out." Mrs. DeFeo says that sometimes. I need peace and quiet because you're so jabby, and you like to gibber and jabber and lots of talking. 6 goofy groundhogs tumbling in their den. They rolled and they rocked, and then, one goofy groundhog announced with the shout, "I'm too tired from tumbling, let me out, out, out." 5 groovy groundhogs singing in their den. They hummed and they strummed, and then, one groovy groundhog announced with the shout, "Hey, I'm a rock star, let me out, out, out." 4 gobbling groundhogs dining in their den. They chomped and they chewed, and then, one gobbling groundhog announced with the shout, "I have a toothache, let me out, out, out." 3 glitzy groundhogs grooming in their den. They primped and they puffed, and then, one glitzy groundhog announced with the shout, "Powder lets me sneeze, achoo! Let me out, out, out." 2 giggly groundhogs running round their den, sliding down their tunnels, and then, one giggling groundhog announced with the shout, "Winter might be over, let me out, out, out." Oh, look, he's throwing away his mittens and his gloves and his scarf. 1 grumpy groundhog wondered with a pout, "Where are all my friends?" It's time to go find out. 1 grumpy groundhog glanced outside the den. He counted all the groundhogs. Not 1 or 2, but 10. 10 timid groundhogs looked around, and then they got startled by their shadows, and they dived back down again. Oh no, you see all their little shadows? They got scared or startled. And 10 grinning groundhogs, grouching no more, snug in their den, snore, snore, snore. Good night, little groundhogs. Oh, and here's what it tells you about Groundhog's Day. Can a groundhog predict when spring will come? According to the legend of Groundhog Day, he can. And today, on February 2nd, the groundhog comes out of his burrow to take a look around. If he sees his shadow, the shy groundhog gets scared and runs back into his burrow to sleep for another 6 weeks of winter. But if it's a cloudy day on February 2nd, the groundhog doesn't get scared away and he stays outside, which means that spring will arrive very soon. So I'm going to find a link for Punxsutawney Phil so we can find out if he saw his shadow or not out in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. All right, so I thought I'd like to read this one too. Groundhog Day. I saw this at the library. I never read this one, so I was kind of interested in it by its cover of the book. And it looks like it's by Anne Pace, And the illustrator is Christopher Dennis. Remember, the author is the one who writes the book, writes the words, and the illustrator is the one who draws or paints the pictures. Valentine's Day is only 2 weeks away, and Moose was planning a grand old party. You need Valentine balloons, said Squirrel, and Valentine cards, said Bunny. And don't forget the Valentine's hugs, pointed out Porcupine. Oh no, would you hug a porcupine? Everyone has to come to my party, said Moose. Uh-oh, Bunny said, that's a problem. What's the problem, asked Moose. Well, tomorrow's Groundhog's Day. That's today, Bunny said. If Groundhog sees his shadow, he'll go back into his hole for 6 more weeks, and he won't be awake on February 14th. Oh, good point. If we stop him from seeing his shadow, then he can come to my party. I got it, said Squirrel. I'll sneak into his hole, and I'll change the calendar so he won't know that it's February 2nd. And look, it looks like he has a plan. Do you see his plan? Just like we have to plan things. I think we're going to start planning and drawing pictures to make our plan, just like in this book. We're going to have to visit this book again, boys and girls. Hey, you're chattering and we'll wake him up, said Porcupine. I'll blindfold him when he comes out. Look, and it looks like Porcupine made a plan too. And we'll take a closer look when you're at school. Oh my goodness, it looks like all the animals have a plan, a written plan. We're going to have to learn how to write out our plan. Your quills might poke him in the eye, said Bunny. I know, I'll put a tent over his hole. You see his plan? You see his little tent? And he drew it over his hole? He'll know he's not outside, Moose said. I'll sit on his hole so he can't come out. That's a good plan. Look, he's just sitting on his hole so he can't come out. Calendar, Moose, blindfold, Moose, tent, Moose. Moose just bellowed. The animals bickered all night. They didn't notice that the black sky was starting to turn gray. They didn't notice that the pink light of the morning kept creeping over the hills. They didn't notice that the groundhog's nose was twitching by the entrance of his hole. Until it was too late. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What do you see below him? His shadow. What's going to happen? The animals watched helplessly as the groundhog dove back into his hole. Wait! Thundered Moose. Groundhog muffled his voice and barely reached the surface. I need to stay down here. There are shadows all over the place up there. Moose was puzzled. Groundhog, are you afraid? Well, is that why you're going back in your hole? You could say that, Groundhog called out. I didn't realize Groundhog was afraid of shadows, said Squirrel. Me neither, said Porcupine. Shadows aren't scary, said Bunny. They're scary to a groundhog, Moose said. So the animals sat quietly thinking. I wonder if they're thinking of a new plan. Hey, Groundhog, Moose finally said. What if we showed you just how awesome shadows are? I'll show you the way leaves blowing in the wind make shadows dance. And I'll show you how to draw silhouettes, said Bunny, out of your shadow. Look, he's tracing his shadow on a piece of paper. See, Bunny is tracing Squirrel. That's interesting. I'll show you how clouds can cast shadows on the hills. See the clouds on the hills? I want to show you my shadow puppets, said Porcupine. Look, he's making a bunny. Maybe you can make some shadow puppets. See, he's using a light and he's using the wall behind him. Dancing shadows, Moose said. Cloud shadows, Squirrel said. Silhouettes, said Bunny. And shadow puppets, said Porcupine. Do you think he's going to come out? I wonder. Wait, said Groundhog. He eased out of his hole. Could we do all of them? They all sound like a lot of fun. You think he's going to come out? The animals spent their day showing Groundhog all the amazing shadows that they could discover and create. Look, there he is. Oh, I like his little outfit. And they were all fun, especially Porcupine's shadow puppets. It's a comb. No, it's a feather. It's a buzzsaw. It's sunshine. They try to guess what his shadow was, what his little shadow was. What do you think it is? I think it's a rooster. Finally, late that night, oh, what a wonderful day, Groundhog said. But I really do have to go back into my hole now. He shivered. 6 more weeks of winter, you know. But you're not afraid of shadows anymore, Moose protested. Now you don't have to miss my Valentine's Day party. I may not be afraid, Groundhog said, but it's still very cold up there. But there aren't any balloons in your hole, said Squirrel. Or Valentine cards, said Bunny. Or Valentine hugs, Porcupine pointed out. Nope, but in my hole, it's nice and warm and cozy, said Groundhog. He looked at all his disappointed friends. Well, can I at least have a hug before I go? Ground hugs all around with a special groundhog nose kiss for Porcupine. Well, that works for me. Happy Groundhog Day, said Porcupine. 6 weeks later, Groundhog emerged from his den just in time, and he was wearing a green hat. Hey, let's have a St. Patrick's Day party, he hollered. We're all here. All but Bunny, Squirrel reminded Groundhog. Well, where's Bunny? Groundhog asked. Oh, you know Bunny, Mr. Moose said. He's always holed up this time of the year. What's Bunny doing? Making his Easter eggs. He's too busy making Easter eggs. The end. Well, I hope you liked Groundhog Day, and we will hopefully see you on Thursday. All right, boys and girls, and I'll have a couple more stories for you tomorrow. Bye-bye.